All right, guys, welcome to the SC podcast. Kind of a different one right now, man. We got the college kids back home, but got Deylan Pigford in the house today, man. Day, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We'll just go right into it, man. Congratulations on signing with Cal State, man.
Thank you.
Just when I read it the other day, man, I was just fired up because I know the path you're going. But just talk a little bit about signing to go to Cal State. What made you go to that school, and just talk about the process to even have that opportunity, man, and how it led to such a great day yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. After the whole deal that kind of happened with the coronavirus and the season shutting down, I was pretty upset about the whole deal. Just didn't really want to leave the room. Just kind of was hanging out and just was like, man, just kind of sitting there disappointed, didn't want to do anything. Well, I remember specifically a phone call with my parents, man. They were like trying to put me at ease with the whole situation, just trying to, relax it all, just let them know that, God's got a plan and, only good can come from this. And I think that was huge for me because that kind of made me take a step back and realize that everything was going to be all right. So I finally got to come home, man. I was excited. Just coming home, hanging out with family, doing that, and I actually, not yesterday, but the day before, about 10:30, I get the first phone call from Cal State, and they kind of, threw an offer out there and said they were interested and wanted to kind of keep talking and stay in touch, and so I was like, man, that's cool. I hung up the phone. I talked to my parents about it. We thought it was a great opportunity. And then they ended up calling back and kind of wanted me to make a decision. And so I kind of my parents and I were kind of sitting there thinking, well, man, we got to start locking down. And so as we were kind of going forward and stuff, I started to get a lot more phone calls throughout the day. And it just started blowing up, man. And it was seriously a full day of just phone calls and stuff like that. And so, but yeah, it was cool. The thing that I think separated my decision with Cal State with a bunch of the other schools was definitely the history that they have and the culture they have. Because the biggest thing too that I heard a lot about them was that once you're a part of the family, man, you're always a part of that. And that's something I grew up with around PV, and I think Grant can agree with that. Once you're a part of the family, you always are. You're always a Panther, man. So that was really cool for me. But the other thing was the success, man, too. I want to go somewhere where we're gonna win, and I think I could be a part of that and bring something to the table, man. So that was what separated it for me.
Dude, I love hearing that because you're right. Cal State is just a historic program in the college game. So you set yourself up for winning, maybe going to the College World Series. You may have that opportunity, but like you said, man, the people that have stepped on that field before you, and now you're in the echelons, man. You're up with the best, and now you get to find out a whole nother side of yourself against the best, man. And that's what I love hearing about athletes is when they want that challenge. They want to go to where the best is to find out and to do that, man. So just hit on this a little bit though, man, because this is absolutely insane. Talking to your dad yesterday when you're in here, and I always have said this, and a guy told me this when I played, is every night you step on the field, you play for 32 teams. You're not just going out there playing for the Cubs Athletics. They always told me every time you step on that field, 32 teams are watching you. So then talking to your dad yesterday just about how you even got on Cal State's radar is just unbelievable, insane to me, because there was 2 different phone calls to scouts that were seeing you play in Texas. That Cal State, you didn't even know Cal State was at those games, but because you were playing so well and making an impression in front of those scouts, look at that, 2 phone calls, boom, on the front stage in California, set yourself up for that. And that's one of the most proudest things I love to hear is that Cal State wasn't even at your games, but because the way you took the field and the way you approached the game, you made that name for yourself. And it's look what happened. Bam, bam, God sets up the opportunity. You don't panic, and they call. Hey, we need an outfielder. Well, there's a guy in Midland, Texas. And just talk about that, man. How do you approach the game every day now in the college game, and just talk about the last 2 years going from high school into the college game, and then how you just excelling this year before this happened.
Yeah, for sure. The way that I look at it is, um, a lot of people see high school and college obviously on two different scales, but it's the same game that you played growing up.
Right.
It's the same game from when you were 8 years old to when you're 18 years old. And the biggest thing that I grew up around, and there's times where this kind of slips away from me, and my dad always kind of gets on me about it a lot too, but we were raised where you hustle everywhere, man. Like, if you hit a ground ball, you're out for sure. You hard 90 all the way through the bag. If you play center field, shortstop, catcher, third base, it doesn't matter where you play. You hustle to your position, you get out there, you get ready to play, and you treat every single moment as if it's a game-like situation. And you just have to anticipate that, like a Boston Red Sox are watching you, or the Chicago Cubs, the New York Yankees. You just have to take every situation, whether it's a practice, whether it's a game, whatever it is, you just gotta take it like a game-like situation, man. And that's the biggest thing that I grew up around, and it just sticks out to scouts, because there's people who just give up on 60 feet rather than 90 feet.
It's so funny you say that, because I even had that talk with some kids last week. And I go, why didn't you guys hustle? And they go, well, it was just a scrimmage. And I'm like, there's your mistake right there. You just fell for the greatest thing in the book. And your story just right now in the last couple of days, because me as a coach and just how I pay attention to athletes, that's what it's about, man. Like, that's what you dream of, and you want kids to understand that fact. Like, when you cross over on that white lines, that's a gift, man. God's giving you that gift every day, and you have to give everything to that, man. I remember at certain points in my life, I didn't look at the game that way. And it's like, to hear a young kid saying that still on the way up, it's like, it's a breath of fresh air for me, and especially makes me proud of someone from this area that's the mentality. Like, that's what I want people thinking about, people that come from around here. And, just talk about this, man. You were never a switch hitter. And I always talk to camps in here. Grant's done a million talks about it, and you always want kids to put in the work when no one's watching. And we've talked about this, man. You came in as a young kid, and I've heard multiple kids come in and say, hey, I want to switch hit. But very few truly mean it. But just talk about, let's go back to those days when I talked to JC about this the other day, and it's funny your dad was talking about your arm from the outfield now, because he's like, JC came in last week and we were talking about how well you were doing, and he's like, yeah, every time I used to go over there, man, Day would just be throwing this friggin' ball against the wall, just throwing and throwing and throwing. And I'm like, yeah, I said, I remember the days he would go home and hit for hours on the tee, just by himself. And if you see good young players, they need to understand that work you put in now is what you're standing on today. That those reps, the foundation was built back then on your own, in your garage, just working, man. Talk about just buying into wanting to be a left-handed hitter, because what you've done and what you're doing at the college level as a lefty hitter, like, it still blows me away, because the story is so amazing of how it even happened. But just talk about going back to those days, man, and the first beginning stages of becoming a switch hitter and how you mastered that craft.
Yeah, for sure. Where it all started, man, was we actually kept a Connie Mack player named Jonathan Walsh, who ended up going to the University of Texas and eventually playing for the Angels organization. And we were hitting in my garage, and I saw him hitting both ways, man, and it just kind of sparked something to me, like it was something different. And at that age, like, you love the game, but you don't really know that much about it yet, and obviously there's still stuff to learn and all, but to see that, man, it was so cool to me. Like, it just, like, I was shook, and I instantly, I knew right then, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to switch hit, man. And that was cool to me, and I didn't know what I was up against, for sure. And I think the cool thing for me was some of my best baseball memories were growing up doing a lot of the switch hitting stuff. because I mean it's my life. It's what I'm in college doing. I mean, but when I made that commitment and I told my dad I wanted to do that, he and my mom both told me, man, like it's gonna be some work, and if you want to do this, you're gonna commit to it, or we're not even gonna do it. And so I, had to mentally prepare myself to get ready for that. Well, coming in here with you and spending those long hours on the tee and stuff and working the other way, man, it was the most beneficial thing for my swing going forward, and it was just awesome, man. And it was like I told you the other day. It's crazy how a decision at 8 years old to switch hit impacted my life in college and hopefully moving into professional baseball, because it's just like, who would think that a decision at 8 years old would impact your life forever? So I mean, the amount of work that it takes to put in, man, like it was like you said. I mean, it was going home and hitting left-handed and right-handed, 100 hacks a night, both sides. And it was sitting on a tee when nobody was watching that made the difference. Because it's like you said, everyone sees the success, the home runs, the doubles, the triples. They see all the success on the field, but what nobody sees is the stuff that you put in on your own time. And that's the difference, man. You can do things for looks, and you can do things for the love of the game. And that was me, man. Like I loved the game, and I knew what I wanted. I knew what I was up against, and I was ready for the challenge, man. And honestly, I don't think I could have ever done it without the support from you, my parents, my friends, pushing me and motivating me to be the switch hitter that I am, and knowing that it can be done. And I mean, now moving further into my career, man, I'm just glad I made that decision, and I think it just really impacted everything.
Yeah, I remember when you first started doing it, the guy you kept from Texas, and then you came in, and the first thing I told you, because I'd never told anyone to switch hit, but I was like, man, I know the number one thing when you switch up to the other side is we are so pull heavy, because our body is like working against itself, And it's so crazy. Yesterday when you said, I told him something back then that was like elastic band and ping pong paddle.
Yeah.
I've never used that term since. Like, it was just something I said back then as a young coach, and he says he still remembers it today, and I'm like, man, you never know. Like you say as a coach, like as an 8-year-old, you'd never know the decisions back then. Like some of the lessons we did back then, when you were talking to me on the phone and you remembered that stuff, I'm like, it's crazy to think as a coach, you don't think you're doing that much to a kid. You just think you're in there doing it, but you remember that stuff later, and it made me think like, man, we underestimate the influence we truly have just by coming in and like throwing catch to a kid, or doing something like that. But I remember for the first like 3 months, I remember telling you, you will not hit a ball on the pull side for months. And just to think, like that sounds good right now, but to actually do that is the toughest thing any kid will face, because that ain't fun. It ain't fun to go in there and hit into a net the other way 100 times every day. You have to know there's a bigger purpose coming, because every kid, what do they want to do? They want to go in the cage, they want to do flips, and they want to try to hit jacks.
They want the instant results.
Exactly. They don't want to build the foundation. Well, here's an example right here. When you build the foundation, look what you stand on later. The quick results don't work. You're talking to a kid that picked it up at 8 years old. And how old are you now?
20.
20.
12 years later.
12 years later. And he's probably still just learning how to hit. Let me ask you that real quick too, man, because I want to talk about approach real quick. Now, I think I've seen a big difference in you pretty much last summer. It was kind of a little bit more presence. It's kind of when you went to college, but you had a little bit more presence in the box with a little bit more power. And I think this year you were coming into your own, especially in the power numbers. Was there a change in approach that kind of clicked? Because I know when I played, you just sometimes get in those counts and you start seeing your pitches that you're looking for, and when you get them, you can drive them, and you do that, and it's kind of like you get good in your zone, and it's just like a clicking zone mentally. I just wanted to know, because I just seen a difference personally in you in the box, where there was a little bit more confident presence, like I know what I'm doing here. And then when I seen your mom putting up those videos this year of you hitting homers both sides, doing that, I'm like, okay, mature wise, he's starting to figure it out just a little bit more. So was there something that you kind of made an adjustment in, or just figured out yourself?
I mean, the biggest thing too is, I mean, as you get older, you kind of start to grow with your body a little bit, and the power comes.
Yeah.
And it's like you said as a kid, you know, when we were growing up, you were always wanting me to work gap to gap and do that. And I remember specifically always asking me too. It was like, dude, when am I gonna hit home runs, man? When am I gonna hit my first home run, man? You know, Grant and Dalton and Jared and Chase and all these guys are hitting home runs, man. But what the heck? Why am I not? You know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you told me too. You're like, dude. I mean, you're a smaller guy. You know, the home runs are gonna come, but it's gonna come off line drives. I mean, so the biggest thing for me too is when so taking a step back, I think a big part of what made me more comfortable at the plate and in the box getting into college was we hit BP on the field every single day.
Yeah.
But moving forward to that, I think when you're hitting BP, whether it be in the cages or on the field or flips or tee or what it is, it's working, obviously staying inside the ball, working gap to gap. And dude, I mean, when you come and you get your pitch and you're looking gap to gap, I mean, it just happens. It comes off the bat. You don't go out there trying, because that's when things just go downhill.
Right.
And that's when you get into slumps. That's when you pop balls up and you roll them up. I mean, scoops and roll over. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know that.
Oh yeah.
So the biggest thing for me too is, like I said, I mean, I'm trying to pick out a specific part of the ball, and I'm trying to find my pitch. I'm trying to hit that specific part of the ball, and I'm trying to drive it gap to gap. And if it goes over, man, it goes over.
See, that's good though, because you kind of figured out your approach. Like, if I do this, I get this. And that's where a lot of kids go wrong too. They think it's always like, oh, let me lift it out of the yard. No. But you gotta figure out when you're 2-0, 3-1, and you get your pitch, you want to be doing damage on those. That's the pitches you want to be doing damage. So you have to figure out the approach to where you know, and that's what it just sounds like you figured out, the approach to get your body in position to do the damage when it's supposed to, man. So now that you just touched on all those dudes' names, all right, let's get to some fun stuff here, because I know we're sitting under the Willie Mays Puerto Rico sign up there. We got Bessie in the house in his work gear.
What a trick.
But even talking to you the other day, man, you talk about just growing up competitive. You've talked about how much Shiloh and Shane and those kids influenced you.
Sure.
But just talk about some of the greatest times you've had growing up with this dude, your buddies in this community, and how much that was an influence on you. Because your buddies are, man, they're a huge influence on your life and who you turn into. So just talk about some of your best moments growing up with those days and playing in Farmington, man.
Let's see if you're gonna remember the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let you chime in on this, but let me start this off. So, starting with when we were younger, growing up around, you know, Cody and Shane and Shiloh and all that whole group. I think they set the foundation for us. They set the tone, exactly. And the thing for them was they hated losing more than they liked winning. And that, I mean, that was us. I mean, that's the thing. They hated losing more than they liked winning. And the thing about it was too, is I remember, you know, they always came in here and they were always freaking chirping at each other, and they were doing this and they were doing that, and it's because they were so freaking competitive that they wanted to win, man. They all wanted to win. And growing up, I think that really sparked it for our group, because it was like, dude, like, you know, they won. We watched them, dude. And Bessie and Chase and all these guys will tell you this, dude. We drove down every year at state to watch these guys win state championships, and we, in our little River Cats uniforms, we're going, rooting on PV baseball in 2011, 12, 13, even 14. I mean, it was like, wow. What they did to this community, exactly.
We were like their little brothers, man.
Exactly.
And remember the stuff
still
when
feels like that.
Yeah, and the stuff with, I remember Justin went through his stuff.
Exactly.
You guys are all in.
We all
you
went to this
shaved your
camp.
head.
We shaved
And
our
then
heads.
we would all go to
It was
the
a
ABA
cool-
camp.
It was a huge community. We were all one, man, and it was like
It was
you had
legit.
guys from FHS shaving their heads. You had guys at PE shaving their heads. You had us who were in like middle school, elementary school, shaving our heads, going to school. We were in 6th grade.
We go back on our
Do you
picture.
do you remember some of the workouts we did your
Dude,
freshman year?
I remember
being out like in the wash sometimes in the
Oh
dark,
my
and you
gosh.
guys are like diving in the sand.
dude,
and stuff.
I remember
I
we did
remember-
camps now.
It was crazy back then.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
it was pretty insane. I
Dude, we do
remember.
the camps now, and they do like that little circuit with the jumps and the 180. Like
Yeah.
I tell people, like that was our warm up when we were there. Like we warmed up with that every day. We were
Yeah.
like, oh crap, here comes the circuit with
Yep, here we go.
But
with
you
the
guys
jumps and the
you guys were
180s
doing
and the
crazy stuff back
Yeah.
then. I'll never forget the day. You remember when we ran the hills out of the complex? It was late at night too.
Yep.
Like we cut up over the field. And I remember
Oh,
Jared.
I
I remember Jared. You remember
Me
Jared?
and
back
Jared
then?
were
Jared was
freaking-
a freaking monster.
dude. Me and Jarrett were
And he was
at-
running. He was running
Oh, yeah.
so far, and I'm like, dude, it's a
We
different
couldn't-
level out here.
Yeah,
right now.
Dude.
it is.
There were just days where we could keep up, and then there were days where Jared just absolutely stomped us. I remember that day being like, I remember running and I kept up with him the
He
first
was.
one. We were going and I kept up, and then dude, he just like flipped a switch, and I
Yeah.
was like, there's no shot.
But how much fun are those days when you go through it with your buddies?
Exactly.
I think like now that we're talking about it, like our group where we missed it is like we were so competitive that like
That's
dude, we just wanted everybody to
And-
lose.
and
But if
add-
we could have used it as like this is making us better and
Yeah.
remembered that it was making us better, we would have went on the same runs that those guys went on. But we just like we had a weird, like super competitive, I hope this guy loses kind of thing. And
So,
it
do you
just
remember in
sparked
middle
it.
school when we had games? And I told Adam this the other day. When we were in middle school in PE, we had games taken away from us because we were too competitive.
Oh my gosh. Miss Trotter comes in, she's like, we're gonna do competitive PE class. All of us sign up. And we're getting ready to go do dodgeball.
Wait, did you say competitive PE class?
Yes,
Yeah.
So
yes.
there's actually a name
Yeah,
for it?
Yeah,
I
she's
get
like,
it.
she's like, we're gonna start. I want to do a PE class with all the athletes, and so all of us start rallying the troops. We go and grab Christian, like we're grabbing everybody. So one day we're getting ready to do dodgeball, and we're going upstairs, and I think Deylan and Cody were gonna be on a team, and everybody's like, that's stupid. We can't have the buddies on the team. Like that's dumb. No, we're not doing that. And we're arguing about teams. We haven't even started. And Miss Char just goes, that's it, you guys are running. So we go and we're running. She feels bad because we're in middle school, so she brings us back in. And I remember we're getting ready to pick teams, and Chase was one of the ones that was harping off really bad, and Jared just goes, Chase, go eat a Snickers. You're not doing, you're hungry. And we just start dying. We're dead. We're dead at this point. So then we start picking teams, dude. But I remember, like, we tried to split up duos. Like, I remember, like, me and Chase couldn't be together, Deylan and Cody couldn't be together. Like, we just tried to split it up, and then it just got, like, so competitive.
Yeah.
Super fun. I remember, do you remember when we went to the Willie Mays Fields and it was dumping rain? Like, absolute, it's pouring. The fields, it's done. We show up, it's all muddy, we're like, we're gonna play. Like, I'm talking puddles, this field should not be played on. We start sliding, we're drenched, it's raining. We're like, crap, we gotta get home. We're in 8th grade, I think. We're in 8th grade. I still live up on Sunset, Cody lives over there. So, we bring a change of clothes, and we like made a wall, and like we're all changing in our clothes, thinking like it's gonna help, but it doesn't. And we start walking back. We walk back from the Willie Mays Fields all the way back up here to my house on Sunset.
Yeah.
And it's dumping rain, and like the team we played, and you know, we were so competitive. I think my team lost, and so I'm carrying this heavy bag. It is so heavy.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's like, Brad, let me take this bag, and I'm like, no, I freaking lost.
It's so
I'm
heavy.
taking the punishment. I'm carrying this bag. I keep going. Oh, dude, I just remember though, like,
Having the Bessie Powell war.
Yeah.
oh, dude, I was like just so determined.
The
But
cool thing about it too, since both of you are here, I remember one specific thing too. We were doing a workout here at the strike zone, and we had the big stone round boulder,
Dude,
and we were trying to see, you had to walk a certain thing with it, and you said, all right, who's gonna take it the furthest? And I knew, man, the fire lit in our eyes, and I took it. And I probably took it damn
It's
near
still
around
out
the
there on
building.
the ground.
Yeah.
It's
And
still out there.
around the
we
building.
haven't whipped
Yeah.
out that rock.
And Grant picks it up, man, and he can't do it. I'm like, that's right, Grant. You can't do it. That's right, Grant. And Grant lights that fire, picks it up, and he takes it the extra mile, and he just freaking smokes me, man. And I remember, like, I was so pissed that I was trying to freaking fight Grant, and Grant was trying to fight me, and everyone's trying to break us up. But it's the competitive spirit. In
I'm
the
sorry,
end
but that's built in every man.
Yeah.
It's funny you talked about Shiloh's group and that. I remember the second year when they had Mike Bernal on the team. I remember it was like 3 or 4 fights that year that these guys nearly had, because I remember they were in the parking lot working out one day.
Yeah.
And they were doing something nasty out there, man, and Bebo was hammered. Like, Bebo just completed the circuits, and Damien jerked off. And Bebo comes flying out of the car, dude, and he's in Damien's face up against the wall, just like, you talk about smack, like he's in his face, and I'm like, boys. And that was all the time, man. I remember Dom and Bernal getting into it, but I think, even touching on kids today, man, that's not, you shouldn't rein that in on men. Like, it shouldn't be out of control where you're like beating on kids.
Yeah.
But listen, that is built in us.
Oh.
And that's what I feel like today,
We
they
miss
pull
that.
back on the young kids. Don't be like, no, like, listen,
We
man,
got to live
that's
right in
that's
the
being
smack
happy.
middle of it. We went from like super competitive to, I mean, Deylan knows when we were in PD, like from freshman year on, like the program just got softer and softer and softer. But like I remember going in and like it was like balls to the walls, competitive in your face to like slowly, and like that's where we started dying off. Now that we're like sitting here and like really thinking about it, like when we were in each other's face, we'd go every weekend. We'd go either Ladera, Willie May. We were always playing. If it wasn't baseball, we were playing football at the Hutch. Cody was rounding up the team. We were competing, and then like that just like slowly stopped, and like it was okay to give. We kind of just like fed into society. Like we had our little. I know we talked about like the cult, but like we had our little group where it was just like in your face, competitive, and we were gonna get it done. To like that slowly, just like no, it's okay, and it just like we all got softer from it.
But I think did technology get a lot stronger? Because when you take you guys, I look at you guys as 13-year-olds.
Yeah, we didn't have
You
our
guys
phones.
were the outdoor like those type of kids.
We just
man.
didn't have our phones. We had to create our own stuff. I remember even on road trips at the pyramid, we'd play softball in the we didn't have phones, so we would
when did
we'd
that?
wrap socks and
Well, you say we didn't have phones. We did. We just
did,
never
but-
were on them, man.
yeah, we just weren't
We
on.
had.
I
we
think-
were in elementary school, and Coach Martin
Instagram.
came to Ladera and taught us softball.
Yeah.
And it was like we were in hotel rooms, or not hotel rooms. We were in hotel
lobbies.
business rooms
Yeah.
where we were not even allowed into, but we snuck in there, man, and we made little softballs rolled up into a ball, and we were playing against each other.
Anything to
and
play.
We would get noise complaints because we were in there,
Anything to play.
getting too competitive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just crazy. I think it built.
Instagram. Once Instagram got big, is when Instagram and Snapchat, when those two got really big, is where the technology took over. I think. Would you agree?
Well, there
It
has
had
to
have
be
been
the
those.
correlation.
Yeah,
If you're,
it's
say,
just
if
all
you're
of
saying,
it.
hey,
It's all of
you
it.
felt the workouts get less, or you felt it get like that as technology got better and Snapchat, Instagram got better.
Oh yeah.
So then it was like, even I take kids, we've talked about this, kids that it's fake. Like you put up a picture and you show the T and you're like, hey, putting in the work. No, you're not. Like it's fake. You don't have that like you're saying, going and doing the stuff on your own. You know, you flex in the mirror and you put up a picture and it shows that you're working out. It's not.
No.
Like that ends up getting exposed somewhere, man. You know, and that mentality. It's so good for me to hear you talk like that, because that mentality is what gets you when you go against the best.
Yep.
No one feels sorry for you when you go against the best, man. I'm sorry.
When we
Like,
just-
and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And if you're going to Cal State and you're gonna go against the best to do it at that age in the country, then guess what, man? You've got to be friggin'. If you're not competitive, you don't even make that trip out there, because that's a shark tank, man. And then it gets worse the further you go, because it's like you're competing for money, you're competing for contracts, and everyone is good. Everyone is good, and then when that happens, what's between the ears separates everyone, man. And I remember you talked about all your buddies growing up. When I grew up, I had good friends, man. My best friend, he was Australasian champion for Muay Thai at one point of his life. And then I had an older cousin, man. He was 4 years older than me. So we would work out every day. He lived on the same farm as me, and I would just walk up to his house. We would have tennis balls, and we would go out there and we would compete in everything. And I never thought about it back then, just like you said, how much he influenced what I do today.
You get caught up in it.
No, and it's like if it wasn't for him, I couldn't have went to the world championships and competed at a high level. I couldn't have went and competed on that because every single day it was the mindset competing against that dude. It was never the game. It was the mindset behind everything you did. And that's what I took out of you the other day when you said, I still remember when you would be the Yankees and I would be the Red Sox, and you would get pissed as like an 8-year-old kid. And it's the same mindset behind you stepping on the field now in college. Like, it was the mental mindset behind the work that truly matters. It's never the work. It's crazy that that's what it was, man. Back when I used to compete with my cousin, I still had that same aggressive mentality, and anytime I stepped on the pro field, anytime I get up and run now, it's that same mindset. I think that's the thing that separates high-performing athletes reaching their potential and what doesn't, man. That is
the process.
And the mindset behind the work.
Like, I mean, for me, I mean, I'm not playing anymore. It's like, for me, it was like, I got too caught up in like the outcome rather than the process. Like, it's funny that we're sitting here now, like how much I really did enjoy going to the field and playing with those guys and like doing the stupid stuff that we did. I mean, we didn't have a lot, like, we're not in a big city, so we don't have the technology and like we did absolutely anything we could do to play baseball. If we played blitzball, if we played softball, we didn't have a whip, like we did whatever we could do. We would duct tape socks together, like we just wanted to play.
And those days are so awesome.
Yeah, like,
and now you sit here more mature and you're like, you know what, man?
We were onto something.
Yeah, but it was just like you do enjoy those days because they do go and you go to a different part. It's like you said, going to the Willie Mays fields, playing those games. That's when life is at its most pure, dude. Like, you never forget those.
No.
You never forget those days. You never forget those experiences. And the more I look back on them now too, it's the same way, man.
Yeah.
Like, now that you get wiser, you're like, dude, gosh, life was not what you thought it was back then.
Yeah.
You know, it was never
that process.
It was never about the game.
We just loved being around each other and playing. Like, it wasn't about. We weren't even thinking. I mean, in the back of our minds, probably state championship, but like at that time, it was just like we just want to have fun, and then it just led to World Series here. It led to going to Puerto Rico. Like, things just started falling into place. But when we started like really thinking, okay, like we got to be state champs, like. And we kind of like